Excellent. Thank you for joining us. If you're just coming in, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to join us here before we start going. All right, welcome. Happy Thursday. Thanks for being here. The NBDA is always appreciative of our members taking part in our super webinars and for our association partners who do help us with this important content to make sure retailers and the industry is best informed forward. Big thank you to HLC. We have been thrilled to work with the HLC team for multiple years now through various programs like our Buy Where You Ride Retailer Event Fund. HLC, the US team and the Canada team has been a very important association partner of the NBDA. So thank you, HLC. Today's topic, navigating retail dynamics, is going to cover inventory management insights, a topic that many retailers in our P2 programs and retailers of the NBDA have been very interested in. We're going to learn from HLC solutions that they're exploring. They'll shed some light on challenges and opportunities that they see for retailers. This is a very interactive conversation today, so we do have a presentation, but we are encouraging that retailers, the industry members who are on the call, do place questions in the chat that you have. You can also use the Q&A. Following the presentation, we will have a session where we will take an opportunity to answer all those questions you have. We really do encourage any question that you have to be put in that chat because we want to make this as dynamic as possible. We have an hour on the schedule today, so without further ado, I want to welcome Patrick and Edward from HLC, who have graciously volunteered their time and effort to help us with today's presentation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for including the Canadian business in the NBDA. And we're happy to be here and talk about the Canadian market and some of the insights that we can provide around the retail dynamics in Canada, where we are with inventory, how we see retailers interacting with their inventory and our inventory, especially as we're coming out of this kind of crazy period of the past couple of years. And yeah, really happy to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, it's such an important conversation. And I know from our Canadian P2 program, we have a P2 retailer group that's just based in Canada, and we have a couple of Canadian board members. We know that there are challenging dynamics that we don't always see in the US, and it's an important for the NBDA to make sure that our REISs are expanded to all of our members across North America. So thank you. Patrick, I know you've put a lot of time and energy into today's conversation as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Edward.
Yeah, before we get started, Pat, the one thing about the U.S. and Canada and that dynamic is, we have offices and commercial activities in both countries, but the two markets are very different, and we look at them differently internally. And I think that it's important to separate out, even though we offer a lot of the same solutions in both countries, the pathway to those solutions and why we use them differs because of the regionality and the difference of the two markets. So we'll be focused on the Canadian side today, but for any Americans who are on the call, a lot of what we're talking about in the context of the Canadian market, those tools are available through HLC in the United States as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Edward.
All right, Pat, let's dive in.
Yes, I'll start sharing my screen. All right, can you see it?
Yep, you bet.
Good.
So one of the issues we've got in the Canadian market is we don't have the same amount of data available to us around the general market trends that are available in the United States. So we're starting here with some information that comes out of the United States, but this is one of the places that we see generally the same trend line in Canada and the US, even if the numbers are a little bit different. So, in Q1 of 2024 versus Q1 of 2023, there was an increase in the number of bicycles sold. I think that's the same in Canada as it was in the United States. And sales, while units were up, sales in dollars were down, and the average selling price coming down in mountain bike and pavement of 9% and 6%. Again, those are US numbers. I imagine it's similar in Canada due to the promotional pricing that was taking place in Q1, even over top of the promotional pricing that we knew was available in Q1 of 2023. So similar in terms of those two trends in dollars and units. And then the mix of product also is going to be roughly the same, which I think is on the next slide. So this is these are coming from People for Bikes in their March 2024 reporting. But what we saw is an increase in children's and BMX overall in the analog mix of bicycles. This doesn't include e-bikes. And so I think what's happening here, what we're seeing similar trends in Canada to the United States, is that kind of higher end mountain bike is being replaced with e-bikes. It isn't showing up in this reporting. There was also some change overall in the mix of, we don't have the slide for that, I don't think, but around tubes, increase in tubes, increase in repair parts. That tells us clearly that the participation was up year over year. And that aligns with what we saw internally at HLC as well in that period, that we saw much earlier repeat for repair parts than we would normally imagine. And so that bodes well for the industry, I think, overall, in terms of ridership and number of people on bikes, the service aspect of the importance of the independent retailer in providing that service. And so while there's still, I think, a margin pressure and lower average selling price of bikes right now, we are encouraged by the number of people riding. And I think on top of that, what I've heard from retailers in my recent travels is that finally, in the mix of promotional priced product, they're maintaining some gross margin or building some gross margin back because their suppliers are providing some promotional price. And we're through that period of retailers having to sell bicycles and P&A at a discount that they purchased at full price. And now we're seeing a flow through of reduced pricing at wholesale that is flowing through the consumer and rebuilding some retail margin.
Yeah, I want to note, Ed, is that there's more ride taking place. So there's a 4% year over year. There's more people are riding their bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we get into inventory, and again, this is coming from the United States, but I think it mirrors Canada. That and sales hit a low point in November 2023. We saw a recovery in sales in 2024, but the inventory is finally at a low point in terms of the past couple of years for retailers, and that's in units and in inventory dollars. And so we're into a period of return to health, I think, for a lot of retailers, and there may still be buckets that they have concerns around. But overall, when we think about the general inventory dollars on hand, I think we're into a much more healthy position for retailers. That's, I hope, returning to the same on the supply side, and we can talk about HLC situation around that in some coming slides. But generally, we're starting to see that a lot of that bubble of inventory is starting to flatten for the most part. One of the main impacts that we see on our inventory is freight in a lot of cases, and mostly in the delay in freight in. So, when we're purchasing our product from our brands in Asia or in Europe and shipping it, we have a lead time built into our system, and that lead time drives when our POs are placed. And the lead time is not just the factory lead time for production; it includes transit. And we're seeing right now an interesting and concerning increase in delay for shipping, between 6 and 15 additional days that's happening on the water from Asia to port from Asia to Canada. And the impact there is that we had planned POs for delivery, let's say on May 1st, and those are coming May 15th, May 21st. They're getting pushed into the month. And as we saw that happen in May, it had an impact on fill rate. So it's an important piece of the equation to keep inventory at the right level is to have this confidence in the lead time in the system. And slight delays like we're seeing right now, I feel like overall we're able to work around. But if this was to continue on a trajectory out for additional weeks of transit time, we could see an impact on the retailer that would be felt around ETAs changing the system. And I don't think we're heading back towards a period like we had in 2022, where it was, transit times were like 45 and 60 and 90 days. But it is a bit of a concern that is a reality right now. And the other piece of the equation here that we wanted to just touch on was the cost of freight out for us. So we've seen some increase in small parcel freight, as well as our LTL, less than truckload freight. For the most part, we've been able to absorb those increases through trying to find efficiencies in our warehouse, find efficiencies with our carriers. And for as much as possible, we're trying to protect our retailers against those freight increases, because we know that freight is such an important part of our program for retailers. Achieving a free freight level on their orders to ensure that there's no hidden costs at the back end, that the retailer knows exactly what their margin calculation is going to be because their pricing is stable. There's no surprise freight bill. There's no issue around ordering just what you need just in time from us. So that's a constant concern. It's something we're tracking, and retailers may see adjustments from us in terms of the carrier. They may see adjustments from us in terms of the timing of the shipping, but we're striving to be next day or second day, depending on where the dealer is on those next day season orders, while absorbing what is a significant increase in freight for us over the past 6 months. So just to try and set the table a little bit about where we are today, I want to go back into history just for a minute. Looking back, not to the pandemic era, but 2023 spring, a year ago, HLC had too much inventory. Like our retailers, there was this big bubble of inventory, and I think the best way to describe it is just too much of everything all over the place. By the time we got into last fall and this winter, I'd say it was too much of kind of the wrong inventory, but we were seeing things correct themselves. And then by the time we get now to summer, start of summer, there are still some buckets of problematic inventory, but we're really kind of like through the worst of it from ourselves when we look at inside our own warehouse. And how we responded to that was similar to, I think, what a lot of retailers did and they saw from us. We started with liquidation. We went through kind of a heavy liquidation period. We focused our internal purchasing on just like our top SKUs, our A's, AA SKUs that turn quickly. And they are the most important SKUs, I think, for our retailers in a lot of cases too, because they generally drive the highest margin. Those standard repair parts and lube, cleaner, et cetera, product like that. We took a patient approach through the fall and early winter. We spent a lot of time making sure we were shipping as much of bookings at as high a fill rate as possible, just making sure that we weren't overbuying and that we were trying to move our product out smoothly to the retailer. Patience was key, because I think that a lot of people in the industry from the retail side and supply side kind of just like jammed on the brakes, and that can be really hard to reaccelerate from afterwards. So then we've shifted now to focusing on our slower turning SKUs. So that comes in two places. That comes from us repurchasing those slower turning SKUs that we've had out of stocks on, as we built our momentum with the A's and AA's. We start to look at the slower turning SKUs, but also being more precise in how we're liquidating some of the overstock SKUs that we have still in this kind of problematic bucket. So that's the patient approach that we've taken. And we're challenged because we have a lack of forecasting model right now. We went through a period last year, and the Canadian dealers know about booking and the importance of booking in Canada. And our approach, for those who don't know, is not to leverage booking against benefits from HLC. We think that dealers can book for multiple reasons, whatever's right for their business. It could be booking for margin. It could be booking for terms. It could just simply to make sure that on March 1st or April 1st or May 1st, whenever we know that snow will melt and the season will begin, that they're ready with the right selection and assortment in store. But we saw that booking was really down last year from our notes and our data. We felt like dealers had kind of underbooked by about 30% in Canada, and we understood why. You know, we knew that retailers were in a position where they said, too much inventory. I have too much inventory. I don't have open to buy, and that inventory may have been tied up in the wrong bicycle model, but it impacted lights and locks, etc. And cash is cash. We understand that. So we had this lower booking, so we didn't have the forecasting as great. We had terrible historical data because we went through this pandemic, massive demand into a liquidation period where we didn't know exactly what was the right level of inventory, and we're trying to track this by SKU, and you can imagine what that looks like in our system. And then 2019, which a lot of people in the industry are using as a benchmark year to say, like, where are we versus 2019? And that's very helpful from a revenue standpoint if you're just talking about dollars. But you have to throw it out the window when you're talking about product mix, because the product mix has changed so much for the industry since 2019. So those as those demand slowed and repeated, it put a big pressure on fill rate, which we're kind of working our way through still to this day. Pat, I'm not sure if I missed anything there in terms of our response.
No, I don't think so. I think you cover it all.
Yeah, and I think, you know, from a retail standpoint, when we got into that lower booking in last fall, and dealers were in a cash conservation cycle, like, we get it. Efficiency is key. When you don't have a lot of cash on hand, you need to be efficient. You need to be careful in your buying. And we were lucky. We had a really early start to the season in a lot of markets in Canada, and we saw a rapid repeat business much earlier in the season than we would normally anticipate. Starting at the end of January, February was a strong repeat month. March, April was incredible. And because we didn't have a lot of clear forecasting on how the season was going to start, it created some out of stocks at HLC, because we didn't anticipate to see things return so quickly, even though we knew dealers had kind of underbooked. And then we throw into that the extra 2 weeks of transit time on the POs that we had planned to have land. It did create a few out of stocks that we're recovering from still to this day. So I guess from here we talk about, you know, what does HLC offer in terms of tools to help retailers to manage all of these various changes in the market, all of the influences that freight and, you know, our systems create, the changing seasonality of the business with longer falls and perhaps earlier springs, and that great unknown about, like, what's the right inventory to have at the right time in store to ensure that the retailer's cash isn't tied up in the wrong product. And that's key for us. It's why we travel in the market. I'm proud of our management team and our sales reps of how much time we spend talking to retailers to try and understand their business from really, like, the most basic point. You know, we employ a whole bunch of salespeople, but I think of them more as business consultants, because if we just go out and sell, it's not helpful to anybody in the end. We need retailers to have a steady amount of repeat. We need them to be buying from us on a regular basis and ensuring that we're not going through these cycles of too much inventory, not enough inventory, and that yo-yo that creates cash cycle problems for both them and for us. And then that knock on to that is to our factories and to our brands. So we're trying to smooth that curve out. The Canadian market has this additional nuance of the seasonality that can be absolutely crushing to retailers in January and February, but provides for us a really interesting springtime bump. And so maybe, Pat, you want to jump into some of the things we're already doing that dealers may know about, should know about, and if not, we'll introduce them to them today.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Ed. So before diving in the new tools available that we developed lately, I want just to highlight a couple of current solution available for retailer that can help them manage their inventory flow, as well as a way to use our own inventory to capture sales in store. So first one would be the booking interface with multiple cart options. So the new booking interface has been up and running for 4 years now, I think, and we added a bunch of feature along the way, including an option for dealer to place an order with 3 different shipments. So basically, a dealer can plan his inventory flow under the same screen for 3 different cards or 3 different ship dates. So it can be for different shipping location or different dates, but it's an easy way to plan their inventory flow at the dealer level. So if I take the Pro Planner, which is our biggest booking for P&A, there's different shipping window within the Pro Planner. So one in fall, one early winter, late spring. So a dealer don't need every single product all at the same time. So they can use the multiple cart option to create different shipping dates and requested ship date.
It's critical because the shipping windows and the associated terms package that come with them, dealer can work that against their cash flow projections to ensure that they've got just the right amount of inventory at just the right time when their payments are coming due. Because we know that the Canadian market, it's really easy for a retailer to get stuck with 5 or 6 different beach balls they need to swallow on like April 1st or May 1st as all of their bike bookings come due at the same time, and they've got various P&A bookings that may have done that come due at the same time. So spreading those payments out is critical. I think we offer a pretty easy tool to do that, and allows the dealer again to go back to using their own strategy for booking. You want to book 30% of your yearly sales and try and repeat 70. Do you want to book multiple deliveries and make sure that your sell-through plan has you at 80% sold through before the next delivery comes? There's a bunch of strategies that can be employed there to ensure that the inventory level is smoothed over. For some high volume dealers, having it all in their warehouse, it could be an efficient way to start the season because they have a lot of receiving to do, and they're going to replan their store directly from their own warehouse. And then there's that really small dealer that can't be bogged down with taking multiple deliveries all the time because they don't have a receiver. So we try to create a tool and systems that allow the smallest independent, 3-person operation to find efficiency as much as the largest retailer with 100 employees, a dedicated shipping receiving department, and replan staff. So
yeah, I mean, being flexible as a distributor is key to us. I mean, just adapting to the market and being as much flexible as possible to offer the better service to the most dealers possible. So that's yeah. So just to finish up on the multiple cart option, I mean, when we added that feature, we also added a way to import an order via Excel in the fast cart and upload all shipment and quantity and product all at once through one upload. So that's pretty efficient. So if your dealer is creating his order in Excel, he can, instead of hand bombing every single quantity and product, they can do it through a fast cart import. All right. Second one would be doorstep delivery. So doorstep delivery, again, same than the booking interface. It's not a new tool really, but I want to highlight a way to capture in-store sales with doorstep delivery. So doorstep delivery is an option for a retailer to send a product to a consumer address. So it's really, it used to be tied to online sales mainly, but that can serve well for in-store sales. I'll take an example of a consumer walking into a store, is looking for a specific helmet. Of course, not all dealers are carrying all models, all sizes, and all colors. So the consumer walk in is looking for a helmet in medium. You carry the black because that's the most popular color. He wants the gray or he wants the yellow. You don't have it in stock. What do you do? If a dealer, if the consumer is an hour away from your store, it will, if you order it and you receive it at your store, it may not come by. Do like another hour of drive to get it there. You have the option of using doorstep delivery, creating an order on the B2B, changing the address, and ship it directly to the consumer. So that's just no way to capture a sale that you would not do if without using doorstep delivery.
Yeah, I think it's critical as consumers walk into shops to capture every possible sale. And the helmet's a great example. You know, car racks is another bulky item that takes up a lot of space. Retailers may choose to display and stock one of multiple models. And if that model is not exactly what the consumer wants, it's as simple as saying, "Oh yes, you can have that. It'll be delivered directly to your house, and that's actually going to save you some time and effort." So we're seeing more and more use of doorstep delivery in the in-store environment rather than how it was originally designed, which was for that, as Pat said, the online environment where we could populate a website with all of our entire catalog.
Just to get set up on doorstep delivery, it's very easy. I mean, you just need to sign paperwork, which is super simple, and that's it. I mean, you're set up. You can just the process is very simple on the B2B. At the checkout, instead of clicking submit with the store address, just change the address, put the consumer address in, and we ship the order. The order through doorstep delivery are going out on a generic packing slip, so no pricing or anything. It's only like the consumer address, the product number, quantity. That's it. It's nothing to be concerned about. It's super easy. All right, now on to the new solution. So HLC business objectives are to provide relevant business solution to help and support IBDs to be successful, and also to be the easiest supplier to do business with. We're investing in integration that we strongly believe that it can help dealer to save time, to better manage inventory, to increase sales, and be more efficient. So we developed some new integration lately that I want to touch base on today. I'll start by API services, which is not new, but API stands for Application Programming Interface. So if I want to define what an API is, so it's a set of rules that enable software application to communicate with each other using data, functionality, and feature. So that's the definition. In more simple words, it's system talking to each other. That's a better definition for it. Yeah, exactly. So I know in the past API was something that was seen as a complicated system. It still needs some developer to program the coding, but it's less and less complicated than it was. So we offer a bunch of functionality to API, including catalog, product tracking, invoices, ordering, doorstep delivery, and the one that is mostly used is the inventory feed. So an API can be called through a POS or web platform, but the inventory feed is the mostly used functionality with the API.
I think, and the inventory is a simple one for people to understand, seeing our inventory live, whether it be on their website or in their POS system. But those other pieces around tracking the invoices can add additional efficiency that is that's important, especially in some of the larger operations.
So to get started or to know more about the API, there's a website built for dealer to look at. It's developer.hlc.bike. That's available to all. You can see all functionality available. You can see how to get started, what you need to do. So it's a website available to all. So it's developer.hlc.bike. All right, on to the new stuff. So one of the solutions that most POS offer is a min-max or auto replenishment system. So that's min-max is a system that we strongly believe in for a subset of product, not on all product, but mainly for high turning product. So what is a min-max exactly? So in retail inventory management, a min-max system helps maintain optimal stock levels. A min represents the minimum quantity that should trigger a reorder, ensuring you never run out of stock, while a max is the maximum level indicating when to stop ordering. This approach minimizes stockouts and excess inventory, improving efficiency and cost effectiveness for a business.
Critically around not missing sales. And I think there's a lot of reactive buying in our industry where someone sees that a hook is empty and the reaction is to buy. And the issue with that is that you don't know what you've missed in sales, and the quantity that you're buying now might be the wrong quantity going forward, and that creates some of that yo-yo effect of inventory. So trying to smooth that out and playing with the min max over time to ensure that you've got the right minimum and the right maximum, and taking into account your seasonality, as you may want to drop off your maxes towards the end of the summer, and look at what your starting, beginning of period inventory should look like for the spring. Those are all nuances of min max, but critically just eliminating that yo-yo, because that yo-yo also translates into payables. And so if your AP is on a yo-yo as well, managing your cash as a small independent retailer or as a large retailer becomes challenging. Min max can really help also in terms of smoothing out your cash cycle.
Yeah, so bigger organization in the cycling industry or any other industry usually have a team of a buyer and analyst per department. That's how it works. So the buyer will build the assortment and make the buying decision. The analyst will analyze the sell-through and SKU performance and place order accordingly. So with that in mind, we know that, IBD don't have the resource or structure in place to have an analyst on board, of course, and this is where we thought we could help. So we created a new feature called Virtual Analysts that let retailer using Lightspeed POS specify minimum and maximum inventory requirement. Based on these thresholds, merchant may see recommendation for product to reorder on their HLC dashboard. So that's a new function available for Lightspeed user for now. But for a given delivery address, the virtual analyst tool will propose recommended purchase based on the product if the item in your Lightspeed POS have a min-max setup. So for any dealer that is using Lightspeed R series, if they have a min-max in their POS, we can make a turnkey integration. It's like a matter of clicks. It's not a coding or anything related to API. It's a turnkey integration. So if they have min-max in their Lightspeed, and they connect the virtual analyst, they will see recommended purchase in a new dashboard on the B2B. So on the screen, there's an example of 3 products that I can go over quickly. So ABIS lock, for example, the first one. So the dealer have your inventory is a dealer inventory. He has 10. His min is 23. His max is 40. So technically, would be missing 30 to reach his maximum, but HLC only has 14. So with that in mind, you can add the 14 to a cart to at least get to the minimum level. The Evo pedal, the second line, dealer only has 1. He has a min of 8, max of 30. So he will be missing 29, but HLC has more than 500 in stock. So he might not need to add them all. He might only need 10 at a time, let's say. So that's a new dashboard available. It's suggestion only. We're not forcing dealer to take everything needed. We're not shipping product automatically. It's just a suggestion that can be used to complete a cart. And to me, that's one of the key way to use the virtual analyst is, let's say you're building a cart because you need some repair part ASAP, or you have a special order to place for a consumer. You start a cart, you're not quite there yet on your minimum free freight threshold. So you can look at the virtual analyst to complete a cart and reach your free freight threshold. So to me, that's a very efficient way to use it. So like I said, we're not forcing anybody to take their inventory, just a suggestion tool.
Yeah, I like the way that you had talked about it, as that the analyst that's missing from the day-to-day buying in most IBDs, and us trying to help retailers to understand exactly what the most efficient, easy way is to fill a cart, so that their receiving is efficient as well. If we think about cash outlay in an IBD, staffing is really high, and so if you can receive less frequently, more product just when you need it, that's creating efficiency in the back end too, which is a pathway to profitability.
Now, one of the roadblocks we see with the mid-max is sometimes dealer doesn't know where to start. So our sales team are trained to guide dealers on how to get started. We have the customer experience team at HLC as well that can help dealer. And we have a team in-house that can jump on a call with any dealers who's looking to get some help to have some recommendations. So we can analyze the sell-through, but there's so many factors in play. So, I mean, the demand is different. The lead time can involve a service level goal, where the product are located. So like I said in the intro, I mean, we don't recommend to put min-max on everything, but the min-max on high turning SKUs makes a lot of sense. Think about if you have let's say a display just close to the cashier that people are just buying as an add-on to their purchase. I mean, that's some of those things that's require min-max on to make sure they don't run out of product and miss out on sales.
I'm proud of the training we've done with our team. We've got management at HLC with experience in buying for high volume retail, and we're trying to push some of that experience and some of that know-how through our rep force as the business consultants to provide that guidance to retailers. So please reach out to your sales rep if you have questions.
All right, so next new solution available, it's called a Lightspeed plugin. So again, that's an integration, a turnkey integration available for Lightspeed user. Same then virtual analyst. It's a matter of clicks to get connected. It's super easy. So this integration requires a Chrome extension. So it's available through Chrome. So what it does exactly, it's so for when the dealers start a PO in Lightspeed, so they create a PO, HLC is the vendor. When they add product on their PO, like below, you can see the vendor availability, and you will see your net pricing, which is not showing up on the print screen, but the vendor availability will show up. So in the case of the first product, which is the Zephyr Z Traveler, the dealer will see that we have HLC have 36 on hand. In the case of the service course handlebar, dealer will see that it's not available, and that's the ETA. So ETA should match exactly what's on the website. So using this Chrome extension will show dealer the vendor availability as well as showing him his net pricing. Product in Lightspeed have pricing, but the pricing may have changed. So dealer might have bought the product, I don't know, a year ago, and price have increased, or maybe the product has a closeout price or a sales price. So I think the net pricing in the PO screen is really helpful because I mean it's something that instead of inputting it manually, it's already there. So once they fill out the product they need, they build the PO in Lightspeed. Once it's done, they can click on the blue button, send to HLC, and they have two options. They can either send the order as a final order to HLC system, or they can send it as a safeguard on the B2B. So that's two different options. Safeguard under the B2B, so that the PO would be sent to HLC B2B with the right PO number. Dealer can add product and can add back order or start shop on the web to add product, and they can submit the order after. Same process than usual. If they send the order to HLC system, that's fine. We will take the order, we're gonna ship it, and that's gonna be your PO in Lightspeed will already be created. So that will save some of your time. So that's the Lightspeed plugin. That's a good way to start a PO in Lightspeed, but it's something that can be useful if you have the habit of starting your PO in Lightspeed. While we're doing some dealer visits over the last couple of months, I was traveling around to show that tool. We had the feedback from dealer that, hey, it could be useful to have the reverse option. So shopping on the B2B and then creating a PO in Lightspeed automatically. So that's something that we're working on. We're hoping to deliver by the end of summer, so sometime in August. And the process would be the reverse way of what I was just showing you. So a dealer start is order on the B2B. He clicks submit. As soon as it's submit, we would send a feed in Lightspeed POS and create the PO for them. So that's going to be a huge time saver because as soon as the order would be submitted on the B2B, the PO would be created in Lightspeed and nothing else would be required from a buying standpoint. So that would be super easy to receive the PO after.
And we're continuing to add additional ideas and integrations, additional developments around this that I think will delight retailers when we come to market with it. It's one of the things that, as an organization, we've tried to stay true to through the craziness of the past 2 years, is that we want to be known as an innovative supplier offering these solutions, and they don't just sort of appear overnight. There's a long runway to get these ready for market. So I'm really proud of our IT team. It's all done internally for us to constantly be working on the next iteration and the next iteration to ensure that we're offering tools to retailers to help them through their inventory challenges.
All right, so last tool that I want to show you is last new solution. Actually, it's a HLC app on Shopify store. So it's been something that we've been working on over the last year or so. I mean, we had some great dealer that tested the app, and we're now onto the final version and ready to deploy to dealer that are on Shopify store. So the HLC app, of course, is available for dealer that are using Shopify as a web platform. So the HLC app does three main things. So it can create product, can feed the inventory, and it can capture sales order from a Shopify store. So now the HLC app interact with the Shopify store only. We're not interacting with the dealer website. So the product creation. So that's a B2B interface. So all the parameters and settings are HLC B2B. It's a new page that the dealer need to have access to. But so on the catalog settings, so the catalog curator is a way to select product. So a dealer can select a brand, a category, a product, can also go down to the configuration, color, sizes, name it. It's super flexible. It's easy to work with. So that can be used to expand dealer assortment online. And when we create a product, we create a product from HLC system to the dealer Shopify store. So we send part number, description, brand, images, weight, dimension, category, pretty much everything we have available. So we send the product on the Shopify store as a draft, and dealer can edit the description or modify what they want to push to their website after. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the new iteration of the catalog curator. It's super easy to work with. There's an import-export option as well, and yeah, I mean that's a pretty flexible option to use, because you can do pretty much what you want. You can add all product of a single brand, or we can all remove some product if you don't want them to. So it's really super flexible. So once the product are created on the Shopify store, we send an inventory feed on those products as frequent as the dealer need. So by default, a feed is being sent every 10 minutes, only if the inventory change on our end. So yeah, there's an inventory feed. And the last piece is orders. So if you want to use doorstep delivery, we can capture the order automatically without you touching the order at all. So yeah, to know more about to get a demo and know more about the Shopify app, you can reach out to your sales rep, and we'll be happy to do a demo for you. But that's just so using the HLC app, it's just another way to use HLC inventory to expand your assortment and just capture more sales, basically.
And here we're talking about Shopify, Lightspeed. Some retailers are happily engaged with Workstand. We still have our product feed and doorstep delivery through what used to be Smart Detailing. But there are a number of retailers who've expressed interest in moving off of that platform, and catalog creation becomes a pretty manual process for a lot of SKUs. So Shopify being the kind of number one option out there besides the industry specific Workstand, this solves a lot of catalog creation for a number of brands that are critical to success online. And as far as Lightspeed goes, and our connection there is, the tool that we've built is transferable to multiple different point of sale systems, and Lightspeed is the most open for integration and working with. So if a retailer is not on Lightspeed, if they're on another POS supplier and they're interested by that type of integration, pressure just needs to be applied to their POS supplier to allow us to integrate with them, and we can. The basics of what we're doing with Lightspeed is completely transferable to any POS system. The inventory feed, the exchange of the order, etc. It's really just a matter of whether the POS provider is open to collaboration. I think that kind of covers us, right, Pat? So
Yep.
left 15 minutes for any questions, Heather, if there is anything in the chat, or if you thought of anything as we went through the presentation.
Yeah, so first I want to just thank you. That was a lot of information, and it was very, it gave us a really transparent look into your operations, and I really appreciate you sharing that. It helps us all make better informed decisions. I love the inventory management tools and that part about spreading the payments out. That does help with cash flow. We've been talking to retailers so much about the importance of managing your cash flow. We have a lot of questions that poured in. So a couple of them are on bigger picture. So we'll start there, and then we can get more into the HLC specific ones, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First, what are the biggest threats to the specialty bike industry in Canada, in your opinion?
Wow. That's a big question. I think that when I talk about the biggest threats, living in British Columbia, I see forest fires and climate change as being like a massive concern, as smoke warnings in Calgary as early as the beginning of May, where the health authorities were saying to people, don't go outside and don't ride your bike. So I think that, we can talk about those kind of overreaching big issues if we want to get into more of the minutia detail. Certainly staffing is something that I hear from retailers, because we have this opportunity in our industry with the service component, that sort of boogeyman of European bikes arriving direct to consumer, or we've seen the end result of the big discounting online players disappearing. Those kind of boogeymen are, I think, behind us. It's the fact that you can buy a Canyon bike online as a consumer. You may choose to do that, or you may choose to buy a Specialized from a dealer in another part of the country. That consumer is still riding bikes and needs service. And I think ensuring that having the right staff is critical, because when that person comes into the store, there are multiple opportunities to engage with them as a customer. But that starts with that greet at the front door. And I've heard a lot of concern from retailers about trying to find staffing. Staffing is directly related to cost, right? You have to pay for good staff. And we know that margins are constrained and will continue to be constrained as overall cost of running the shop is increasing, whether we're talking about rent, we're talking about hydro, whatever the inputs are. The fixed costs are going up. The variable costs and staffing are going up. And so, having these conversations about cash flow, managing inventory, because it has such a direct relation to cash, is critical to ensure that gets reinvested back into that customer experience in store. So pretty roundabout answer, but ensuring that customer experience in store is critical.
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. It must be challenging to just get questions. You have no idea what's coming at you. So, and I got like 10 of them. So here we go.
Okay.
National retail chains, MEC, Sport Check, Sporting Life, they're gaining market share. Any advice for retailers, independent retailers, specialty bicycle retailers, in competing with these national chains?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my first answer is my second answer. It's the retail experience. The three brands that you named there are all like really well managed retailers who run a very tight order or a product assortment. And the thing they all have in common is they're pretty much self-help retail experiences. So from an assortment standpoint, I think that any IBD can be competitive with those three chains. I think that they can be competitive on price, because the other thing that those three chains have in common, especially now that we're talking about Mountain Equipment Company and not Mountain Equipment Co-op, is that they are profit-driven organizations. The Forzani Group's a publicly traded corporation. You can track their performance if you want. They are going through discounting periods the same way that IBDs have. It's really only related to inventory. It's not necessarily a strategy around driving sales through promotional. So the thing that will set any independent retailer apart from those stores is that customer experience. And I don't think that can be replicated at scale by those big companies because they're not set up for it.
I love that answer. Magic ball, where do you see the market headed in terms of retail demand in the next 12 months? What's HLC forecasting?
Well, Pat mentioned it earlier a couple times in this presentation that ridership is up. I see it locally with the number of people with bikes on the back of their vehicles, the participation in various events. So I think that's really positive. And those customers may not need a new bicycle this year because they've gone through this promotional price. Maybe they bought a 2-for-1 Kona with their wife or something, right? Like, we don't know that they're ready for another bicycle, but we do know that they are going to wear out their tires and their chains. We do know that they're going to, as they get more involved in the sport, they may want to upgrade to a more higher end or specific product, moving from a water bottle to an EVOC hydration pack, this type of opportunity. So I think that we're going to see a general flattening of bicycle sales. Dollars average sale price will rebound and go up because of e-bikes. Unit wise, I think we're going to have to see over the next couple of years what this sort of big bubble of bicycles that we've swallowed, how that pushes out in the market. But one thing is for sure, the innovation coming from the hard goods suppliers will drive those core customers back into the stores to see new products, see new bicycles, and all those new customers that we've sort of we're trying to shepherd along and build community around. They'll be an opportunity for us with that in-store experience to turn them into long-term cyclists and long-term customers.
Excellent. Okay. Lots more questions. Let's keep going. Independent bicycle dealers are being advised to look at reducing SKUs. The question is, how many SKUs does HLC have? And if you're looking to reduce SKUs as well, will you give retailers advance notice, or what impact might this have?
Pat, do you know how many SKUs we have?
Close to 17,000.
Yes, something. Yeah, I think overall for the company on both sides of the border, it approaches almost 30,000 because we don't have the same product mix in both countries. We look at SKU performance. I think that we generally try and stock everything that our vendors ask us to stock. That pink light, it exists for a reason. That somebody out there wants it. They wouldn't have built it if there wasn't demand for it. And so what we're looking at is how those SKUs turn and making sure we have the right inventory at the right time. And so using some of our tools around inventory management will help the retailer to define their own assortment in store and then have access to these other SKUs just in time as they need them. We're looking at products, we're looking at brands, we're looking at SKUs all the time about whether it's a profitable product for us to sell. I'm responsible for the revenue and profit of the Canadian business, and so it is definitely an internal topic. But I don't see a massive culling of SKUs by HLC. We're pretty careful about what we bring in, and so I don't see something in the next 6 months where we say, hey, we're going to cut a whole bunch of SKUs to gain efficiency. We're trying to be efficient in how we buy those SKUs and when we make them available to the market. So I think retailers could expect from us to see our inventory start to decline as we get into Q4 and preparing for Q1. And while we're going to try our best to keep the muck off 120 ml wet lube in stock through the fall, we might not want to have a really specific summer product available in December for repeat. It'll come back in the spring and have the right thing in stock at the right time.
All right, perfect. All right, so lots of HLC specific questions. I think some of these I could just fire off for a quick answer. Any timeline on integrations with Ascend?
Pat?
No timeline really. I mean, we're sending the catalog feed manually twice a month, I believe, or once a month. But as it stands, there's no timeline on the like a fully integration.
We are ready to integrate with Ascend at the moment that the door is open to us to do so.
Excellent. We've talked about Lightspeed. How about Square?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. And that's something that we can put into our list of I'm guessing Square POS is probably where this is coming from. Let us get back to you, Heather, on that, and maybe it can be included in the next communication.
Excellent. Yeah, this is how we all go forward, right? This is perfect. The inventory management solutions, are they available in both the US and Canada? I know this was a Canadian focused presentation, but that question came in.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Excellent. Is there a fee for a HLC retailer to participate in any of those programs?
I'll take this one. So there's no fee for virtual analysts. There's no fee for the Lightspeed Chrome extension. No fee for retailer on the API services. There's a monthly fee on the Shopify app only. That's the only service with a fee.
Thank you for doing all that. The doorstep delivery option and vendor fulfillment. Have retailers been using it, and what does HLC forecast as growth rate? Like, is this something that you're anticipating is going to grow significantly over the next year?
We've seen a decline in what we interpret as a decline overall in online sales. Doorstep delivery, our doorstep delivery calls have been reduced this spring over previous years. So I'm uncertain about how the online business is gonna move forward. I do know that we'll be there to support dealers who want to have a more robust catalog and don't want to have it in stock. But I think that what we are seeing is the use of that doorstep delivery for that in-store experience to ensure that when a customer walks in, a sale is not missed. If the assumption is made the customer will just go home and order it online themselves anyway, there's no guarantee that they're going to choose the bike shop they just walked out of. That's a whole other world of Google ads and ad spends and this is the customer in store is someone with their wallet out and ready to go, and that's where I think doorstep delivery becomes a really interesting option for retailers.
Yeah, 100% agree. We've been doing what we can to educate on retailers on using that in the store to make that sale before people leave. A couple other questions here. Is HLC hearing anything about bilingual compliance mandates for products being sold into Canada? And if you are, how are you and your brands managing that?
Yeah, that is a topic of conversation all the time between HLC and our brands. We offer relabeling services to some brands on product. Other product that we cannot or the brand is not willing to relabel, we actually geo restrict from the Quebec market, unfortunately, because if the product is not compliant, it can put not just the retailer at risk, but HLC and ultimately the brand as well. But we have a very clear communication protocol with our brands, but what we require for the Canadian market around bilingual packaging.
And then question just thank you from the person who asked that question. What is the name of the contact for the plugin?
Yeah, so the answer will be the same for the plugin or any other integration. The sales rep is the point of contact to get started. The reps are trained to onboard dealer on some of the integration. If not, they'll contact the right people internally.
In the dashboard of our website, so if you click on your dashboard at the top of your B2B, it'll take you to a bigger dashboard that has all the contact info. So if for some reason you don't know who your rep is, or you're missing their contact info, it'll show both an inside salesperson and an outside sales rep if there is one in the territory to contact. And failing that, you can email us directly through our info.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Patrick and Edward, so much. We appreciate you sharing your insight, taking all these just questions just coming right at you. I really appreciate the retailers who joined in, the industry members who joined in. And I did put Edward and Patrick's direct emails in the chat if you wanted to reach out to them, or as Edward suggested, just go on to your to the website there. You can find your inside contact. Edward, Patrick, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It was our pleasure.
And we will make
Thank
this available on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to refer back or share with friends, you'll see that in the next 24 hours. Thanks again, everyone. Bye now.
Terrific.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.